do that here in South Dakota and across the country.
Okay, so I brought several pieces of legislation this year, mostly having to do with refugee resettlements, but the bigger picture is the war on terror. So far, our country has spent $6.5 trillion fighting a war on terror. President Trump has tried to get a handle on how to keep our homes and our communities and our neighborhoods safe. And so he came up with different policies. One of them was a travel ban from certain countries. Okay. The reason we needed to have a travel ban is that we don't know how to vet people that are coming from certain countries. And so if we don't know how to vet them, if we don't know exactly what they believe, should we bring them into our community? So just in the neighboring Minnesota, 50 Somali refugees tried to join ISIS. Well, they weren't even actually refugees, they were children of refugees, which proves the point that we don't quite know what the pathway to radicalization is, right? So I brought a bill. The first bill that I brought was just a resolution that basically said that we needed to identify the root cause of terror, and I proposed that it was Islamic terrorists that were the root cause of the war on terror. And the rationale is that each of the people that we're fighting are fighting in the name of Allah. So ISIS is the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, Hamas, Hezbollah. There's 19 different organizations that are Islamic fundamentalist organizations. They believe in the full implementation of Islamic law known as Sharia, and it's those laws which are the fundamental background of why every Islamic country has a punishment for leaving Islam, and 14 Islamic countries believe that you should be killed for leaving Islam. So my point is that we need to figure out who believes in that hateful and deadly ideology. You and I would agree, I would imagine, that if you are killed for what you believe, that's a problem. And so that we should try to figure out who believes that and then try to keep them out of the country. Now, if you're just solving the problem for Islamic terrorism and you get a subset of that, then you're going to have mostly Muslims on that list. And so the other side will demonize you, saying you got a Muslim travel ban list or something. Well, if you're fighting the Islamic war on terror, your subset is already people that are following Islam. And then as you narrow that down, you get to a point where, all right, these are the people that we are concerned about. These are the people most susceptible to join ISIS or Al-Qaeda or Al-Shabaab. And that's who we're monitoring. We're fighting that war in every nation in the country, or in the world, as well as every state in this nation. We're monitoring people that are susceptible to radicalization in Islam. That's the discussion that I wanted to join. I didn't have any fantasy that it was going to pass. I wanted to raise that issue so that we could have this discussion between you and I and talk to the people about it, because if we don't face it, we're going to continue to send 18-year-old kids over to fight and die and lose their arms, legs, and their lives. And we just can't afford that anymore.